baby. Go, sexy. Show me some.
Taking it as Bergeron, nicely able to step away. From Winifred, they score!
Here's a chance. Poitras right in on goal. He scores. Oh my! What a move by the rookie.
2-on-1. Pasternak moving in with Marchand. Get it to it. Score!
Into the zone. Coyle dances in. Backhand score!
Lindholm right wing corner. Pasternak is there. He scores! David Pasternak wins it for Boston.
Welcome in, everyone, to another episode of Bruins Tape to Tape. We are recording on Wednesday, October 16th. I will be your host for tonight's episode. I am Maria from Watertown. Before we get started, I want to welcome in my ever effervescent and energetic co-host, Karoline with a K. Welcome in.
Hey, Maria, I'm so glad to be here. We have so much to talk about.
We actually have the Bruins have played 3 games all at home since our last episode. So we'll set the table by indicating that we'll do a quick review of each of those games. But tonight's episode will be basically focused on the broader aspects of those games in terms of what our thoughts are on the start of the Bruins seasons, what we may be able to identify, understanding we're only 4 games in, as their strengths and weaknesses. We also had the debut of a couple of highly anticipated Bruins players during these 3 games, Matt Poitras, and of course, our franchise goalie, Jeremy Swayman. We'll also do a little bit of comparing and contrasting in terms of the results that we're getting from some of our bottom 6 players as opposed to our top 6 or middle 6 players.
Yeah.
So, and we'll also do a little spin around the rink right now before we dive deeply into the Bruins games. And so I did a little bit of, checking around on the good old Google machine and internet today. And to date, as of the 16th, we have still 2 undefeated teams remaining in the NHL, and that would be the Calgary Flames and the Dallas Stars. Up until I think last week, the Utah Hockey Club was undefeated, and they were handed their first loss just recently. And there are still 2 teams yet to win a game in the early parts of this season.
Crazy.
One would be the Nashville Predators with the free agent signing of the year, Steven Stamkos, which I found very surprising, and the Colorado Avalanche, who our Boston Bruins will be facing not until approximately 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you very much, TNT. And you also had a very fun fact.
Yes, it's fascinating. And well, I like the Schadenfreude. So there was a goalie goal last night in Minnesota. So Philip Gustafsson has more goals thus far in the season than Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews, and Sidney Crosby combined, which is pretty shocking. I'd say at this point, everyone's been talking about this absolutely crazy start to the 2024-25 NHL season. Like you said, I'm with the undefeated teams. I'm not surprised with Dallas. I'm a little surprised with Calgary. Don't know where that came from.
Well, that might have something to do with, maybe some divine intervention and the fact that, they're playing with heavy hearts, and sometimes that helps fuel your passion for something or your determination to get something done. And I don't underestimate things of that nature. So, good for them. And I hope they have a great season. I really, really do. And it would be an awesome tribute and memory for Johnny Gaudreau and his family. But we make these points, folks, just because it has been a bit of a weird, for lack of a better word, weird start. We know that, Connor McDavid is going to start scoring a boatload of goals, as will Austin Matthews, as will Sidney Crosby. But the reason I wanted to share this is, our Boston Bruins fan base can sometimes be a little bit reactionary. So when things are good, they're great. We're gonna win a cup. And then, you lose a couple of games to the Florida Panthers and, the team is no good. We didn't do enough.
Right.
We don't know how to beat these guys. And so I just say this to say, okay, everyone, let's just take a chill
Take a breath. We are 4 games in.
4 games in. And listen,
78 more games to go.
I dislike the Florida Panthers just as much as anybody else. And I will double down on that by saying that if anyone has watched the Prime NHL series, docuseries called Face Off, which is tremendous, folks. I highly recommend it.
Fantastic.
But I detest Matt Tkachuk even more than I did before after watching the episode that he was featured in. So but it's a long season. It is a marathon and not a sprint.
Exactly.
So with that being said, we're going to take a moment to hear a word from our sponsors, and then we're going to talk about the Boston Bruins.
Oh, yes.
There's nothing like seeing a hockey game live, especially an NHL game. But ticket prices can be outrageous these days. That's why I use the Game Time app. Game Time has tickets for all kinds of live events. Plus, they have a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see the Bruins play live even easier. I love how I can get curated deals that make it easier to find the best prices on seats, and I can preview the seat view before I buy. And the lowest price guarantee is huge. You know how hard it is to be able to not spend an arm and a leg at TD Garden. Game Time guarantees the lowest price, or they will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code THPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code THPN for $20. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. The quest for the Stanley Cup starts now. The puck's dropping on the 24-25 season. Get in on all the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. It's super easy for first-timers to get started. Try betting on something simple, like picking a team to win or a player to score. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your team, and place your first bet. I'm loving the start that Mason Lohrei is having with this season, and I'm liking his odds of scoring that goal. And if you're new to DraftKings, listen up. New customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in New Hampshire, Oregon, and Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball. NFL Plus Premium offer available only to new and former NFL Plus subscribers. Additional NFL Plus Premium terms at nfl.com/terms.
All right. We're back at it, folks. So since our last episode, Bruins have had 3 games, all at home. They had on October 8th a game against the Montreal Canadiens, which ended up being a 6-4 win. Then they had a matinee game on Saturday, October 12th, which was a 2-1 win in overtime against the LA Kings. And then they finished off their early season homestand on Monday, the 14th, with yet another matinee game, which was against the Florida Panthers, a 4-3 loss. So my question to you is overall, because we could dissect each of these games, but we would likely be here for a lot longer than our listeners would care to listen to us. Overall,
Ranting and raving forever.
your overall feeling, takeaways. What are you feeling good about? What are you feeling? I don't want to say bad because it's too early to be deeming something bad. That still needs work.
Yeah, I think, I always like to go back to the classroom and grade things. And I would say the last 3 games for the Boston Bruins, I'd probably give them a B letter grade. They have shown some really, really great moments. There have been players who have left us wanting more, and it's not frustrating yet by any means. Again, I kind of just went back to thinking about it over the weekend and just really attribute it at this point in time in the season to some, again, mismanagement in the preseason in preparation for the season with the team. They have been somewhat inconsistent in how they've shown up to each game. I think we can all say unequivocally that the Boston Bruins that showed up at game 1, terrible. The Bruins that showed up at the home opener against Montreal, crushed it, phenomenal. That's the game we like to see them play. The Bruins that showed up.
Let's state facts, though, against a weak, on paper, a team.
Right.
You're better than that team, so.
Right. Yeah. But like you want to see at least that much. The game against LA was a means to an end. Like they won, fine. It wasn't how you wanted it to go. It was frustrating in the sense that like, why do you do this? Why do you go about the game in this way? The slow start, some ridiculousness happening out on the ice, and then making it to overtime and David Pastrnak coming in and save the day. And then the second game against Florida was better. Okay, let's in context, in the sense of the 2 games, it was night and day. For whatever reason, for the last 2 prior seasons, and very likely this 3rd season, the Bruins struggled to truly figure out a consistent way to handle and manage the Florida Panthers. It's frustrating because, at least from a fan perspective, I think we all can kind of see and understand what Florida Panther hockey looks like. And again, I'm not a bench coach. I'm not, there making the decisions and helping them figure it out. But it just seems, what's a little bit frustrating is the fact that this is a team that they just can't seem to figure out. Now, that being said, in relation to what we often see in Boston sports media and a lot of Boston fans is, well, they're terrible. Okay, but our sample size is literally really one, right? They've played one team that is a good team, and they just so happen to have played them twice, and they showed improvement. That was fine. I'll take some improvement. Is it what I wanted to see? No. It was a lot of the same old garbage that we have seen in countless Florida games where there was an excess of penalties, both legitimate ones that were committed by the Boston Bruins because they cannot seem to stop Florida from getting under their skin, but also a lot of garbage calls, right? Like the shenanigans by AJ Greer boarding.
I
David
have something to
Pastrnak,
say about that. Yeah.
And then the retaliation in the next play where Charlie McAvoy is then kind of holding down. Now, did he commit a penalty? Yeah, he did. But like the reason why he did that was because the referees lost control of this game in 13 minutes. And if they had just made the correct call, even if they didn't make the call for the boarding, which would be ridiculous, but say they made a call for roughing or fighting, whatever happened, the extracurriculars that happened afterwards, that would have been something. And instead, what happens is the Bruins get penalized for retaliation, basically, because they decided they were going to have to take it into their own hands because the referees wouldn't. And the Florida Panthers turned around and scored a goal on that power play for them. So it's frustrating. I get it. I hear and understand fans' concerns and irritation. Like it's extra irritating because it's Florida. I get it. I despise them as much as the next person. The situation, they never handle it well. But again, it's a sample size of one. Now, we'll see what we have to talk about next week after they go through Colorado and Nashville and Utah. I don't know if we want to count Utah, but Colorado and Nashville are two teams that are poised, while they have not won yet, they are poised to take off. They're just a little bit of a delayed start. So we'll see. But on the whole, I'm giving them a B because there were things that I liked and things that I didn't like, but it's still too early to really say.
So I'm going the B minus, maybe bordering on C, and I'll give you my reasons why. First of all, on the Panthers game, and this is my personal issue with Jim Montgomery, and maybe this is not a normal approach to things. However, when your star player gets run from behind, and he's run from behind, and you call the official over, right? You call the official over for an explanation, and you just look as if you're like, oh, okay. No, I want you ripping those officials a new one. Okay. I want to see your blood pressure go from 0 to 100, because the reason that game got out of hand in that first period was the fact that the officials made no call, and you, Boston Bruins coaching staff, gave the officials the impression that all was okay to officiate in that manner or continue officiating. I have a real problem with Jim Montgomery when it comes to that. Okay. You don't have to do it every game, but there are certain instances where you need to send a message, if not to the officials, but to your own players, saying, okay, I'm not putting up with this shit from the officials, and none of us should put up with this shit from the officials. Okay. Is it going to change the fact that they didn't make a call? No, but at least you're showing me some signs of life back there. The other reason why I'm grading B minus or C is we're still seeing the same problems with this team's power play.
Yeah.
It's
been more aggressive. It's shown flashes of more aggression.
Flashes.
But there's been still a lot of standing around. I have
Okay.
to agree.
And I would give them credit if after the power play was over, if you have momentum that you're generating 5-on-5 offense. But even that isn't occurring with regularity at this point.
Yeah.
So that's something my expectation was you were going to fix that. You were going to fix that. And I don't see a change in that. The other thing that I'm waiting to click is all season long, we heard from NHL experts that the Bruins were going to be extremely difficult to defend against because of the size of their back end. And I'm still seeing defensive breakdowns, some very bizarre things being done with the puck. And again, it's early, but I expected to see more of a just you're coming into our end and you're going to pay a price for coming in to our end. And I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, I like that we still did see some player defensive response in the sense of, when David Pastrnak took that boarding hit, Pavel Zacha of all people stepped up to the
second
plate.
fight in his career.
But we didn't see that last year. So
no.
I don't think we're ever going to see Jim Montgomery truly explode. I feel like I've only seen him do that once, maybe twice in the 2 years he's been a coach. And while I agree with you, I want to see that. I don't think that's who he is. Who knows
he didn't have any problem snapping at his players in the post game after the Panthers game. What his presser availability was all of a hot minute where he said our bottom six were good and our top six were not good, and that was the end of it. So I just again, this is a topic for another day, but these are the types of things that give me pause for concern about conversations about extensions without seeing results going forward into this season. So, but we can have that conversation on a different day. Tell me what you thought about Jeremy Swayman's return to the net, because his first game back in the saddle was against the Montreal Canadiens, which was a 6-4 win by the Bruins.
Yeah, he's had a good start, I would say. He's played 3 games. He's allowed 9 goals. It's just under half a goal worse than what is expected. So he's not obviously where we would love to see him. He still has a goals against average that's under 3, so thank God for that, right? Like that's in baseball they've got that Mendoza line, right? It's like for goaltenders it's like you got to be under 3 otherwise, so he still has that going for him. I think when it comes to goaltending, especially at this time of year, and if you listen to any of the other podcasts, you'll hear this as well, so it's not like what I'm saying is totally revolutionary, but you certainly don't want your goaltender coming in to start the season at the level of play that he's hopefully going to be at come April, first and foremost, right? Like I typically like to explain to folks, look, when you've got a skilled goaltender, when you've got a franchise goaltender, you'd reasonably expect them to be operating at maybe starting the season at a 90%, right? Like the really skilled ones, like Ottinger and Hellebuck and Shesterkin and Jeremy Swayman. But you have to also remember two things, the context around Jeremy in this particular snapshot in time. He didn't do preseason. He didn't do training camp. So he's already, starting his season about 2 weeks behind schedule compared to his peers. And he's not doing a bad job either. Like, again, he's saving the goals that need to be saved, right? We've seen a couple of times where he made fantastic saves that, really could have changed the tenor of a game. So he's got that going for him. And so because of that, I would say he's probably starting the season off at, more of an 80 to an 85% of where he really could be. So as long as Monty continues to play him, I think, as of 7:45 before the puck drop out in Denver, I wouldn't be totally surprised if he doesn't play tonight, just as part of his, again, getting him up to speed, getting him to that rate of play. But I would certainly expect once we get through this week, maybe next week, you would start to see him playing 5 games in a row, right? Resting every 10 actual days, because that's kind of the rate of gameplay that you would be seeing. And once he's there, he's going to be there. And I think he's going to be fine. He's also not faced significant threats for the most part. Again, one team, literally, and he only played Florida once. So again, this week is really going to start to be the test of how he's adapting and adjusting to the start of the season.
I think he's gotten more comfortable, more acclimated, and more in tune with his game, with these games that he played at home. And, again, in the game against LA, he did have to come up with some key saves there. And he's been one of their better penalty killers, I might add, during the course of these games. I'm a little worried about his projected workload based on, the fact that he's gotten these 3 games in a row. And at some point, you need Jonas Corposalo.
He's got to get time in
games.
too.
You got to get him in there. You got to get him in there. But I think all in all, it didn't seem like Jeremy had a lot of rust to his game.
No, if anything, what I would categorize as rust isn't even really rust. It's because he didn't participate in training camp. He's ultra reliant on the defensemen who are in front of him, and that having a number of new folks and, again, new structures and all that stuff, his chemistry has to be on point with those guys too, right? Because he's got to do a lot of communicating. We saw, I want to say it was in the Florida game, but I could be wrong. But some really great stick handling on his part, some really solid passes that I don't know that we've really seen before from him. And, some of that maybe communication, like getting to know, the chemistry with his the defensive players in front of him, that has to exist in the same way that you have to see that chemistry among the forward lines, right? Because, like, those are his guys. He's got to be in good communication with them to make sure that, how are we handling puck? Where are you going to be? Because how many times have we already seen mistakes being made by defensemen being in the wrong spot at the top of the crease, Brandon Carlo.
And it's not all on the defenseman, because we all know that the Boston Bruins expect all of their forwards to share in defensive responsibilities.
Yeah. He's just, again, 2 weeks behind schedule, but I fully expect him to be up to speed in no time.
Yeah, no. He's been good. We also had Matt Poitras make his debut in the game, the matinee game against the LA Kings. And then he also played in the game against the Panthers, which was a loss. So what was
That was a
your...
doozy for him. That was a doozy for him. I felt for him. You know, one of the things that I have noticed, I don't know if it's just because there are the bigger bodies on the blue line or what, but speed seems to be really that thing that's lacking. And I think we all knew that that was going to be a thing, you know, with the departure of Jake DeBrusk. He was a speed demon, you know. I think Lauko was a fast guy. Boqvist was a fast one. And so all those guys have left. And Matt Poitras seems to me to be the speediest of the guys that are still there. And he definitely showcased that. You know, he showed some really great speed and bursts of energy going up and down the ice. But just like in game one of the year where Mason Lohrei showed his youth in his season opening game, Matt Poitras also had his moment of showing his youth and inexperience. And that's okay. You know, I think we've seen with both of those players in particular, their ability to learn and to not continuously make those same mistakes. But he just got pickpocketed. I mean, that wasn't a giveaway. Like,
No,
that was a takeaway. Like,
he got robbed in
smoked
broad
and
daylight.
Yeah. And I think what made it kind of probably worse is, like, yes, try and go after him, and he kept good pace, but I think some of his last minute decision making just really kind of made it a little bit worse, and he ends up in the net, and you know, it just ended in a goal. So besides the takeaway, you know, how he kind of attempted to recover, it was just a showcase of his youth, and hopefully that doesn't happen again, especially because, you know, he's not a giant guy. I think he's 5'11", 6 foot. So, I mean,
He added a little bit of weight he added a little bit of weight.
Right. But he's also not even 20 years old. Like, he's still growing. So have a little mercy on him, but also that was terrible.
For all the good things he did in the LA game, because, you know, he was one of the prime and key contributors to Pasta's overtime goal, because as he was getting ready to get off the ice during the overtime and make a change, he had the awareness and the sense to see that the puck was there, right, and get it to Pasta, who passed it to Lohrei, and Lohrei got it back, right, and so we got two young guys there with now the newest core member of the Bruins, right? And Pasta, you know, buried the shot. And Matt Poitras had done a lot of really, really good things during the LA game with the puck. He, you know, he looked fast, he looked decisive, you know, he looked confident. Then what I saw in the Panthers game was a little different to me. He seemed much more tentative, hesitant, unsure of himself. And here's the other thing that I'm going to say about this young man. He needs to learn not to put himself in bad positions where he's going to get clobbered, because he is going to get clobbered if he doesn't learn to keep his head up or not, you know, put himself, you know, by the boards. His head is down. He's gonna get smashed. So there's a lot to work with there. The kid clearly has talent and ability, but that's the aspect of his game that I worry about from a young inexperienced player's standpoint, where he's got to have an awareness to not put himself in those vulnerable positions where he could potentially get injured again.
Yeah. And I think your point about how he played the Florida game is the perfect example of exactly how his youth and inexperience really also came out, and that is, you could tell that he was being affected by the pressure and the stress of playing against the Florida Panthers, right? They are a legitimate rivalry with the Bruins, and for that, it's just going to take time and experience to learn, like, okay, we have the skills to take care of this team, to be competitive with this team, and not to just not be worried,
Well, the good news is they don't have to play the Florida Panthers again until sometime in January, and so maybe all of these
Oh
little
God.
hiccups will be ironed out by then. So I want to spend a little bit of time talking about the contributions in these early games from the newest members of the Boston Bruins, because
Yep.
who would have thunk that with 4 games into the season that Elias Lindholm and Mark Kastelik would be your leading point getters for the Boston Bruins. David Pastrnak is in there, but then that's followed by Cole Koepke, Johnny Beecher.
Yeah.
We've even got some of our defensemen making point contributions. And then as I scroll down through this list, I get to
He's not doing
Charlie
much.
Coyle, 0-0-0. Morgan Geekie, 0-0-0. In addition to that, Charlie's a -5 and Morgan's a -4. What is a coach to do with this? Let's start with the good. Let's start with the good.
Yes. I feel like
Let's start
we were
with
in this
good.
position last year where there was something going on with the vets, taking them along a little bit longer to get going, and it was these bottom line players, these newer players. And I think when we talked about it last year, maybe some of that is powered by that excitement. It's new, you're still young, this is all exciting. And not to say that those veterans aren't feeling that same way, but you can't discount the impact of that youthful excitement of being on a new team or the start of the season, right? Because Koepke's not a spring chicken. He's been around, but he's new to Boston, and I think he's extra motivated to prove himself and to be on the team, which he was a pleasant surprise.
Right.
Love seeing him play out there. He's been fantastic, a solid contributor. But even, a returning young guy in Johnny Beecher, he's really upped his game, being on that line, I think, with Kastelik. Kastelik, I mean, I will admit, going into the start of the year, I kind of brushed him off as, all right, he's just going to be, the muscle. He's not going to be doing much other than being the enforcer, but he's scoring goals too. So I'm
2 goals
very
and 3
pleasantly surprised
assists.
too.
Who
Yeah.
would have thunk it? Yeah. Who
And
would have
not
thunk it?
like easy goals. I mean, he's gotten some in that were like basically on the goal line, like fancy little footwork things. So that's been just really exciting to see. I'm thrilled to see that, that fourth line, they're doing what we need them to do, which is be that tougher element, but still scoring goals. Because the thing is, at the end of the day, as much as we were kind of teasing McDavid and Matthews and Crosby, and we all know that it's going to come for them, it's going to come for our veterans too. And so it's an extra positive thing that at this point in the season that these young guys are also contributing regardless if the team wins, but they're showing that they can do it and they're growing that confidence and they're getting comfortable and they're building that chemistry, because you need to be having all of that sort of thing happen at this time of year, right? These are the wins that you need to get because they matter the most in March and in April. And you really want to make
the
that
points.
your team
This
is,
to me is like a savings bank.
it is. And again, even if the Bruins aren't necessarily winning all of these games, how many times have we talked either on this podcast or in the Discord group about, well, when the time comes that Monty is going to start needing to play mad scientist, is the chemistry going to be there? And as long as you have lines that have that chemistry, if he's playing around with other lines and that chemistry isn't there or it's delayed, like you still have something, right? You still have that something in your back pocket. And so there's a ton of value in what they are doing and how they're contributing. And it's really exciting to see, because that's how many years, how many seasons going way back, how there was no secondary scoring, right? You had the perfection line and that was it. And we lived in a desert of scoring. And like, yes, last year, the epitaph on the tombstone read, they just couldn't get it done. They couldn't finish. But at least people were scoring goals, not on the first line. That was a different issue that we expect. That was our own personal tiny dead puck era.
Well, who would have thought that at this, again, early in the season, that the fourth line would be driving the offense?
Love it.
For
I love it.
the Boston Bruins, while these guys try to find their proverbial games. And so, it seems to me that Jim Montgomery is going to, based on what we've read and heard, there are going to be a couple of lineup changes tonight when they face the Colorado Avalanche, in that Morgan Geekie and Justin Brazeau are going to be sitting, and but understandably, they haven't really been contributing in any, and you might argue that they're actually hurting because they're not even, playing a good defensive game at this point in time. So
Right.
Matt Poitras is going to center the third line with Max Jones, who we haven't seen yet, and Riley Tuft, which is odd. And Trent Frederick is going to slide up to the second line. With Charlie Coyle and Brad Marchand. I have a problem with that. I'm not really sure why we're rewarding Trent Frederick with elevating him on that line. Maybe Monty knows something that the rest of us don't know, but Trent Frederick right now is a -7 on this team.
Yeah.
A -7 with 1 point.
Is he less bad compared to the other two? Is that it? Like the lesser of two evils? I don't know.
No.
I don't know.
Trent Frederick has the worst plus-minus on the team at this moment in time. And I haven't seen any, and again, right? You're robbing Peter to pay Paul. Maybe you don't have any other options. Maybe there's something about Trent Frederick's game or skating that he's hoping will get Charlie Coyle and Brad Marchand going. I mean, you got to get your captain going. He's got one point.
Yep. And he's had some good moments. I mean, he almost had that one shorty
2
where
points,
he actually ended up
He
in the
has
net
2
and drew a
assists.
penalty.
Yeah, he's had sniffs. He's had sniffs. But the reality is you need to get, you have to get something out of Brad Marchand, Charlie Coyle, and Morgan Geekie, or you're screwed. You're screwed.
Yep. And as much as I love Charlie Coyle, because obviously he's back here.
Listen, I love his game too, but I will tell you,
I've already been yelling at him on the screen. I mean, he had a moment I think it was in the Florida game. He had an opportunity.
I didn't hear his name until the second period.
he passed the puck, and I'm like, why? I thought we resolved this last year. Don't pass, shoot the puck.
and to your point, because you brought this up during one of our podcasts about, how the Bruins managed or didn't manage their preseason, and maybe we're seeing some of that disconnect. It's all well and good to be practicing at Warrior Ice Arena and doing your drills, but when you're not working directly with your line mates in a game situation, right? Like, let's face it, these guys aren't, 19, 20 years old anymore. They're, in their upper mid and early 30s, some instances, mid 30s. So it might take them a little bit more time to find their game. However, points in the NHL now are a rare commodity. And you've got to fight, as we're seeing early on in the season, tooth and nail for every stinking point that you can get. So you can ill afford not to have guys that you have deemed to be part of your top 6 not contributing.
Right. Yeah. Yep. That's why I think this coming week is going to be a little bit more of a telling week. Not so much like I'm not going to be, hyper fixated on, okay, do they win or they lose? But how are those particular players rising to the occasion? How are they participating in the game? Are we starting to see them kind of get warmed up and get going? Because if not, by week 3, then I'm going to be starting to wonder, okay, what is going on? Because that Charlie Coyle and Brad Marchand, they have the highest work ethic on that Boston Bruins team. Pasta has, I think, gotten lucky with some of his goals. I don't think we've seen him at his
full potential either. I agree with you. Yep.
And here's the thing. Unlike,
but he's going to get his, right?
Yeah.
He has so much just inherent God-given skill. He's going to get his.
Oh, yeah. But the thing is, like, unlike with goaltenders where you expect and actually hope that they are at 90% of what they will be able to accomplish in the year, like the skaters, especially your playmakers and your goal scorers, like, you really want to see them almost there basically right away. You want to be seeing them, how they're going to perform, and then they can take it even further, obviously, in the playoffs. But you don't want to see them kind of doing this, like with any of them, right? McDavid and Matthews and Crosby, like you don't want to see that, because that really starts after 3 weeks. That makes you start questioning, like, something else is going on here,
right? And some of this disconnect too might be a result of the Bruins have been taking a lot of penalties.
Yeah.
So that means they're spending a lot of time on the ice killing penalties, which only affords you the opportunity to keep putting certain guys out there who are on those penalty kill units, excuse me. And, right now the Bruins are the second highest penalized team in the league, only behind the Utah Hockey Club. So, that in and of itself doesn't allow you sometimes, when you're going back and forth from the penalty box, to get your flow going with your lines. Right. So the other thing I'm hoping for, and because I'm a big fan of this, I think an early season road trip can be extremely beneficial to a team.
Good.
Because you're packed up, you're gone, you're away from
bonding,
family obligations, personal obligations. It's just you and your teammates, your line mates. You're on the bus, you're on the plane, you're at the rinks early, you're having dinner together. So I'm hoping that this early season road trip will help fuel some of what is lacking right now in terms of connecting the dots with a couple of the lines.
And the Bruins are an excellent road team to begin with.
Right.
So, if they can get a few more wins under their belt, decisive wins, play some games with some real force behind them, showing that chemistry, it's gonna pay dividends when they come back.
So let's see what tonight brings. We still don't know who the goalie is going to be against the Colorado Avalanche, but once they play the Avalanche tonight on the 16th, they will then travel to Salt Lake City, Utah, where they will play the Utah Hockey Club on Saturday night, the 19th. And then from there, they get to go to Smashville, Nashville, to play the Predators on Tuesday night, the 22nd. So we will be back with all of you on Wednesday evening, the 23rd, recording to chat, talk about those games,
road
and
trip,
hopefully we'll have some more positive thoughts. I think we've had some positive thoughts here.
Definitely.
Not all.
All is not lost. All is not
lost. No. But you know me, I need to be very blunt
Yep.
and very to the facts when it comes to the Boston Bruins, and the hope is not lost, folks. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying what my eyes are showing me at this moment in time. That doesn't mean that there isn't room for improvement, and I do expect Brad Marchand and Charlie Coyle and Morgan Geekie, I do expect them to start contributing, because they're too good not to be contributing to the success of this team.
Absolutely.
Any closing thoughts?
I really hope, because the Bruins are playing the two teams that have yet to win, that doesn't automatically mean that they're just going to lose. Because the other team is bound to finally get a win. Is it going to be at the hands of the Boston Bruins?
I mean, this is when you show who you are, because you take a couple of teams that are hurting puppies right now and likely can't even believe the fact that they haven't won a game yet. And you just take it to them and make them feel even worse about their
Kick
game
them while they're down,
than they already do. Kick them while they're down.
No. Well, thank you always, Maria, for a fantastic conversation. If you like the content today, make sure you like and follow, subscribe on YouTube. Make sure to give us a rating and comment. We love to hear from our fans directly. If you want to have more game day conversation, definitely check out our Discord group. We have a lot of fun, especially on game day. You don't have to be a super expert. If you just have an interest even in learning about hockey and you want to know what the deal is with these Boston Bruins, by all means, please come and join us. But thanks, Maria. And as always, go Bees.
Go Bees.